From scoring at Wembley for Brazil,
and it's Endrick, the 17-year-old, who gives Brazil the lead. Just his third cap, his first international goal.
To not even seeing the pitch for Real Madrid. From being hailed as the next Pele to looking like the next Mariano.
We've seen this with Real Madrid before. We've seen the Jesses of the world. We've seen players who have had good seasons go elsewhere and be forgotten.
From being seen as the future number 9 of Los Blancos to becoming a permanent bench rider, what the hell happened to Endrick?
Qual é o primeiro objetivo? Chegar no profissional. Profissional. Segundo, jogar bem no profissional. E depois? Ir pro Real.
People forget this guy was seen as one of the best young players in the world. I know it's hard to believe because this guy is only in the news nowadays whenever his wife does something, but he had and still has a lot of talent. They called him the next Pele, the Black Bobby Charlton.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the
Some of these names were tongue-in-cheek, but his ability was hard to ignore. He exploded onto the scene at Palmeiras. As a teenager, he was already winning everything in sight.
He can move around the other forwards. He looks for the ball. He's very talented. He's very skillful. He's a phenomenon. He's a very talented player.
In his first 2 seasons, he helped Palmeiras win back-to-back Brasileiro titles, the youngest ever player to do that, and he even became the second youngest goal scorer in league history. People weren't exaggerating when they called him the next Pele. He played with zero fear, scored outrageous goals, and even dragged Palmeiras to a comeback title win over Botafogo with 2 goals.
The Brazilian phenom Endrick, who scored a tremendous goal for Palmeiras.
Pretty remarkable, the technical ability, the awareness, everything, the talent. Is clearly an absolute phenomenon.
Brazil genuinely believed they had found their next superstar striker, which made sense because back in the 2022-2023 season, everything this guy touched turned into gold. Every goal, every run, every glimpse of his talent had the world of football watching him closely.
And he's still growing. Like, he's not big.
Clearly, but you
and
can
he plays
see,
center forward.
You can see him clearly. He hasn't finished growing and developing. So pretty remarkable. Keep the name in mind.
It didn't take long for Europe's biggest clubs to show up.
16-year-old wonderkid Endrick, who's been linked to everybody, it seems. Barcelona, PSG, Chelsea. But it looks as though Real Madrid are going to get him for around 60 million euros.
Real Madrid, the same team that grabbed Vini and Rodrigo before they became stars, moved fast for Endrick. Literally a month after his debut, Madrid agreed to pay over 40 million euros for a kid who was still only 16. The deal was very simple. Once he turned 18, he would join the Bernabeu and link up with Brazil's next generation. The hype was insane. Spanish newspapers were already calling him their next superstar. Fans were watching his highlight videos and comps on repeat. Florentino Perez even told him in person, "We are waiting for you here." It was that serious.
¿A dónde vais? No tenéis que temer, que vosotros...
Even before he arrived, reportedly Carlo Ancelotti had him in his long-term plans. And Brazil's coach at the time, Dorival Jr., summed up what everyone felt. If Endrick kept his attitude and work ethic, he would become huge. Not just for Brazil, but for the world of football. At this point, everybody was convinced that he's the next big thing.
For sure that Real Madrid knows that. Every club in the world knows that. That's why he's ranking among these phenomena that we saw.
This was further proven in March of 2024. Endrick, who was only 17 at the time, got his first call up to the Brazil senior team. And just like those cheesy sports movies, he ended up scoring the winner against England in Wembley on his debut. Now, it wasn't some crazy highlight reel goal. It was a very simple tap-in, but that moment was huge. He became the youngest men's player to ever score at Wembley, and Brazil's youngest scorer since R9. That alone was enough to put him on every front page. But the crazy thing is he wasn't even done, because 3 days later, he scored again, this time against Spain at the Bernabeu.
There's Endrick! Boy wonder strikes again and scores at the Bernabeu, the place which he will soon call home.
The photo of him celebrating with Yamal in the background was being shared by every Real Madrid fan. That has aged like milk now, but it goes to show you just how much hype was around this guy at the time. Then in June, he hit a 96-minute winner against Mexico. Just like that, Endrick had 3 goals in his first 3 games for Brazil, and the fans were losing their minds. They were already putting him in graphics with legendary Brazilian teenagers. Meanwhile, in Madrid, the excitement was off the charts. He officially joined Real Madrid in July of 2024 after turning 18, being unveiled at the Santiago Bernabeu.
As Endrick was officially unveiled as the latest addition to the Real Madrid squad, of course, a lot of excitement over the 18-year-old Brazilian international.
Even though he didn't get a ton of minutes at first, he made every single one of them count. He scored on his La Liga debut against Real Valladolid, becoming the youngest foreigner to score for the club in La Liga history. Then he scored on his Champions League debut, and he even scored on his Copa del Rey debut. Every time Ancelotti threw him on for a few minutes, he caused problems for the other team. Madrid fans started thinking that they had their next superstar on their hands, because honestly, it really felt that way at the time. If there was one moment where Endrick really showed why there was so much hype around him, it was his run in the 2024-2025 Copa del Rey. Because in that competition, he just went crazy. He scored 5 goals in 6 Copa games, becoming Madrid's main guy in the cup. He scored on every round. In the semi-final, he scored against Real Sociedad, putting Madrid ahead in the first leg. Then in the second leg at the Bernabeu, he produced his biggest moment at that point. A ridiculous run in behind and a soft chip finish that sent the whole stadium wild. And the chip, it wasn't some lucky finish. Endrick said afterwards that Raul used to tell him to practice that chip when he was training with Castilla. By scoring 5 times, Endrick became the first Madrid player since Cristiano Ronaldo to hit 5+ goals in a single Copa del Rey run.
With the limited playing time that he did have, he was a leading goal scorer at Copa del Rey along with Ferran Torres. He's a player who, his characteristics remind me a lot, at least of movements and in striking ability, physically built, of a Romario.
Spanish media started calling it the Copa do Endrick. And then in the semi-final of the second leg, Ancelotti did something huge. He started Endrick over Kylian Mbappe. That's not normal. That's a manager saying, I trust you. Endrick thanked him by scoring, pressing like crazy, and leaving everything on the pitch. When he came off in the 66th minute for Mbappe, the whole Bernabeu stood up and clapped him off. It was his first real superstar moment in that stadium. But even after all of that, Endrick stayed humble. He kept saying things like, I'm here to learn, and we have Vini, Mbappe, Jude. He was giving the PR answers. But his performances showed that he absolutely deserved more minutes. Madrid eventually lost the final to Barcelona, and weirdly, the guy who helped them get there only got 9 minutes off the bench. It was a disappointing end, but his Copa run was easily the high point of his early Real Madrid career. By spring of 2025, Madrid fans were begging Ancelotti to play him more in La Liga, because every time he touched the pitch, something good happened. And then, everything stopped. Just when it felt like Endrick was about to explode at Real Madrid, his momentum completely died. Later in the 2024-2025 season, he picked up a hamstring injury that kept him out for almost 4 months. It was terrible timing. He missed the end of Ancelotti's final season, and even the Club World Cup. It was supposed to be a period where he should be getting minutes, building rhythm, and growing into his role. But sadly, that was not the case. Then summer came, and everything at Real Madrid changed. Ancelotti had left to coach Brazil, and Xabi Alonso took over. Suddenly, Endrick, who was still only 19 and returning from an injury, had to start all over again with a brand new manager. And it didn't help that the team was overflowing with attackers. Endrick was always gonna struggle for minutes in a squad this stacked.
Kylian Mbappe, you've got Vinicius there already, of course Rodrigo is there already. Last season Bellingham was the top scorer in the Real Madrid side and got very close to being top scorer in the whole of La Liga.
Under Alonso, Endrick didn't just play less, he disappeared like Casper the Ghost. By the time Real Madrid went away to Getafe after the October international break, he had gone 154 days without playing a single minute of football. His last appearance at the time was all the way back on May 18th in a league game against Sevilla. Since then, so much had happened around him, but nothing for him. In that gap, he had seen Ancelotti leave Madrid to take the Brazil job, watched Xabi Alonso come in as the new coach, picked up 2 muscle injuries, missed the Club World Cup in the US, saw academy striker Gonzalo Garcia shine at the tournament and win the Golden Boot, then he took over Madrid's iconic number 9 shirt and didn't get to wear it in an actual game. While the team and the new coach went to the US for the Club World Cup, Endrick stayed in Spain, rehabbing with his personal trainer. When he finally flew out to join them and train with the group, he suffered a relapse of the same injury in his first session back. It was brutal. He eventually got recovered, got married in Madrid, went on honeymoon in Japan, and then came back early to reset his season. Inside the club though, Alonso was very honest with him. According to reports, Xabi told Endrick straight up it was going to be very hard for him to get regular minutes in this new Madrid attack. attack.
Tienen oportunidades es Endrick. Nos queda la pregunta de cómo haces para gestionar que un jugador de 19 años que está en su segunda temporada todavía no haya tenido minutos.
Bueno, está claro que todos quieren jugar, ¿no? Y sobre todo un jugador joven, por el contexto ahora queremos competir, es difícil, depende del partido, pero bueno, paciencia, tiene que estar preparado, saber que está en el Real Madrid y ya llegará el momento.
Even knowing that, Endrick stayed to fight for his place. By mid-September, he was back in the squad. He made the bench for the Espanyol game on September 20th and the next few matches, but he didn't move. Match after match, he was just sitting there, warming his butt cheeks on the bench. At one point, it was 5 games in a row just sitting there, watching like I do on TV. From the outside, Madrid were winning and the competition was stacked. From Alonso's angle, it made sense to rely on Mbappe, Vini, Mastantuono, and others in big games. From Endrick's angle, it felt like time was just slipping away. What makes this even more frustrating is that Endrick's first season at Real Madrid wasn't bad by any means, especially for a teenager. 37 appearances in all competitions, 847 minutes, 7 goals, which is the same number Rodrigo scored in his first Madrid season and more than Vini had in his. Reportedly, the board told him that this was normal for a young forward at Real Madrid. Ancelotti himself once said that players that age basically have to warm the bench until they grow into guaranteed starters. So on paper, his path was fine, but emotionally, it's hard to keep on track when you haven't played in months, especially when you've been given the iconic number 9 shirt, the one worn by Di Stefano, Ronaldo, Benzema, and yet you're not actually wearing your jersey in official matches. Alonso had tried to keep the messaging positive. He's praised Endrick in public before, saying he has a great eye for goal, a ruthless finish, really good movement, and an ability to find space. But the praise didn't change the reality. By October of 2025, Endrick hadn't played a single minute under Xabi Alonso.
There's nothing more the world loves than a fresh Brazilian wonder kid, but unfortunately it has not worked out. He's not played a single minute so far this season for Real Madrid.
Later on, he finally got a tiny cameo in a 4-0 win over Valencia, but that was it. By December, those were still his only La Liga minutes. For a player who was averaging 0.74 goals per 90, that felt like a huge waste. Of course, all of this started to show. Reporters and fans began to notice how upset Endrick looked on the bench.
Endrick is not. I don't see him getting any kind of significant minutes for Real Madrid right now. Talented kid, but needs to learn the game. You saw that even in what little you saw of him last season under Carlo Ancelotti.
At one point, there was pictures of him in tears because Xabi told him to warm up. Then in stoppage time, brought on Gonzalo Garcia instead. Just imagine that, you're Endrick, once called the next Pele, Brazil's next great number 9. You wear Real Madrid's legendary number 9 shirt, and in the 90th minute, the coach picks another striker ahead of you. Some of the fans were confused too. Even in matches where Madrid badly needed a goal, Alonso refused to turn to him. In a 1-1 draw against Girona, the only striker he used came on in the 90th minute, and again, it wasn't Endrick.
Xabi Alonso really thought that Endrick could help him? We would have never seen Gonzalo in the Club World Cup, but he doesn't think he could help him. Why? What are you not doing?
By December, Madrid had gone on a mini slump. 3 straight league draws, dropping behind Barcelona in the title race. And still, Endrick stayed nailed to the bench. A talented weapon that just wasn't being used.
And at this point, he's not been used. Not even as a substitute appearance late on, you know. That for me is alarming.
All of this didn't just hurt his club career, it also impacted his international dreams as well. Endrick's last appearance for Brazil came in a 4-1 loss to Argentina in March, a game that ended up costing Dorival Jr. his job. After that, Brazil turned to Ancelotti, the same coach who had at least shown a bit of trust in Endrick in Madrid. On paper, it should have been a perfect fit for him. In reality, it worked against him. Because he wasn't playing for Real Madrid, Ancelotti stopped calling him up. It was now 3 straight international windows where Endrick hadn't been in Brazil's squad. He went from scoring in 3 consecutive games for them to not even being in the conversation. With the World Cup getting closer, that was a huge problem. Every month on the bench made it harder for him to make that squad. According to reports, people around Endrick have said that his plan is to reassess things. If Xabi isn't using him, a loan move is firmly on the table. Not just because he wants to run away from Madrid, but because he needs minutes to have any chance of developing or going to the World Cup.
Olympique Lyon is interested in the 19-year-old, but they're not the only one, according to Jules. He says teams in Germany, Italy, and Spain are also interested. All right.
His agent at Rock Nation, Thiago Freitas, insists that Endrick is still confident. He knows that whenever he does get on the pitch, he usually makes something happen. Everyone at the club has talked about his maturity, his work rate, his attitude, but none of that changes the picture. In less than a year, he went from Brazil's next great hope and Madrid's Copa hero to a kid learning patience the hardest way possible, by sitting, waiting, and hoping a chance actually comes. Madrid fans are split on this. Some people are very disappointed in Xabi Alonso for not using this direct striker who's hungry to score goals, especially during times where Madrid have been struggling, especially when it comes to putting the ball in the back of the net. Others say relax. Look at Vini and Rodrigo. They weren't instant superstars either, and that's fair. Both of those guys had slow patches, rough periods, and heavy criticism before becoming world beaters at a young age. Endrick is still only 19. That's easy to forget when you've seen him scoring at Wembley and the Bernabeu. That talent that amazed everyone at Palmeiras and those early Brazil goals are still there. He's shown that when he does get minutes, his numbers are strong. The question now though is, where's he gonna get enough minutes to grow? A loan move would give him space to breathe. It would offer him minutes and an opportunity to try things, make mistakes, and actually develop as a player, especially if it's away from the constant microscope of Real Madrid. Maybe an injury or dip in form from someone ahead of him opens a door and he suddenly becomes important at the Bernabeu again. Endrick is a victim of bad timing and arguably poor decision making. Had he gone to a smaller club, he would be starting week in, week out at 19 years old. Instead, he went to the biggest club in the world at a moment where they already had 3 and 4 elite attackers, one of them being arguably the best player in the world. What's clear is this: his journey is a warning sign about hype and timing when it comes to young talented players. Going from hero to bench warmer at 19 is rough, but it doesn't have to be the final chapter. If he makes the right move next, whether that's staying and finally breaking through, or going on loan and rebuilding his confidence, he still has loads of time to flip the script. Excuse the pun, but the ball is literally at his feet. He just needs to go somewhere where he has the chance to play and showcase his ability. Now there's another Real Madrid player who also doesn't look like himself anymore, and that's Rodrigo. To see what happened to this guy, you have to check out this video right here.